we will start with PCOS, which is a hormonal disorder that may or may not be characterized by cysts or like a cluster of a collection of follicles on the ovaries uh, that end up not really developing appropriately so they don't lead to ovulation. So often with PCOS, ovulation might be really delayed or it might just happen sporadically, and so menstruation happens sporadically. There's different severities of PCOS, so some women might ovulate, on day 60, and some women may get like 2 cycles a year, or I've had plenty of women not bleed for years with PCOS. So often there are excess androgens, so male hormones, and that could lead to like facial hair. I should apologize. I'm paging my kitchen cabinets, so dark. Um, so often facial hair, there might be male pattern baldness, even often acne is an issue. And in Western medicine, the things that they say can contribute to PCOS are genetic predisposition, um, birth control pill, unfortunately, that sometimes we just can't process the hormones, and so they build up, and they often leading to the things that lead to kind of what we see in Chinese medicine is like a liver accumulation or liver stagnation. Good morning. Um, so, yes, I have a third reason that I'm going to share with you later. But all of the kind of causes and symptoms of PCOS in Western medicine, we see in Eastern energetic medicine as an accumulation of dampness. So I know I've talked about dampness. If you've watched the chi phase videos in your course lessons, dampness is kind of like when our energy that moves through our body should be clear and fast moving and, kind of direct. And when we have dampness, it's almost like a steam starts to kind of literally like steam our body. And so things start to, if you think about just being outside when it's like steamy out or being in like a steam room, we just move a little bit more slowly. So with PCOS, everything, all of our processes move a little bit more slowly. Our like conversion of hormones, our use of things, our use of sugar, um, our ovulation, everything just happens slowly. So you think about all of our body's functions kind of moving more slowly. Now, in terms of the different kinds, some of you have asked me this. There's two different types we see in Chinese medicine of PCOS. One is the yin type, and this is like a more cold PCOS. So dampness doesn't like to work alone. Dampness likes to combine with something. So it either likes to combine with cold or it likes to combine with heat. So those are the two different types of PCOS. So the PCOS that we hear about more that like kind of lends to like weight gain and kind of systemic imbalance. So all of the hormones are imbalanced. We might get like facial hair, the blood sugar issues. That tends to be a more yin type, cold type PCOS. The yang type PCOS is a little bit different, and this isn't somebody who tends to like actually maybe be really thin or have like an athletic build. And that's when the heat that's combined with the dampness actually starts drying out our good yin fluids. And then what's left is kind of like the sticky dampness. So that can become, either cysts or PCOS. So we might treat them a little bit differently, but really we're treating the dampness. So when we're working with PCOS, what we're doing is draining the dampness. So the detox and the fertile moon tea are the teas that have the most damp draining herbs. So these are really good. You might find that when you're drinking them, you're urinating more. This is really good. We want to drain out the dampness. The reason that I give you bath soaks is that the salt can actually kind of draw the dampness out of your body a little bit. If you think about salt, it kind of draws dampness. The massage is good because it just manually can move through some of that stagnation. Whenever we have dampness, our energy can't move, so things tend to stagnate. And this is why sometimes we can have PCOS that can also turn into endometriosis, because when we have stagnating energy, everything starts to stagnate. So we can get these conglomerations, which is why some women actually get cysts, is that the dampness has become so kind of solidified, it has nowhere to move, that it becomes a cyst. Or we can actually get like fibroids or endometriosis where the blood is accumulating with the dampness. So that's why it's important to kind of work on these and really start to reverse them and unravel them. And sometimes it does take months to kind of unravel, because the energetics that have been contributing to these have been building up for sometimes years. So you might find that if you do a massage, you might have like a really loose stool afterwards, or really wet diarrhea even, which is awesome. It's actually that you're draining out some of the dampness. You might urinate a lot more when you're doing the womb massage. Definitely the fertile moon and the detox tea are great for PCOS. I do like the combination, but if you can only do one or the other, I would do the fertile moon. That's hard to say. I really like the detox. Um, but also, the teas are good because they also replenish yin. So dampness and fluid can be different from yin. So we want to drain the dampness while we're still nourishing the good yin. So um, the next thing that I'm going to talk about, I actually hate talking about, but it's really important to talk about with PCOS, and that is the diet around PCOS. So if you know me, you know that I think the diet industrial complex is like a scam meant to make women and some men hate themselves. So I'm actually really anti-diet. I feel like diets don't work. They're made to make us not listen to our body and feel badly about ourselves, and they're kind of meant to fail. So, and also, in terms of treating PCOS, I have found that the removal of certain foods really does make a big difference. And, I wish that it wasn't the case, but in working with women, I do find that certain foods tend to be inflammatory. So, if our focus can be on reducing inflammation as opposed to like weight loss, or balancing blood sugar as opposed to weight loss, I can deal with that a little bit more. But, the thing with diet is I always say, like, listen to your body will tell you what you need. But the thing with PCOS is that often, because our energy is moving so slowly and we crave like awakeness and alertness and aliveness and energy, what our body might be telling us due to the imbalances that are contributing to PCOS, this dampness, our body might actually be telling us to reach for the sugar, to reach for the fruit, to reach for the quick fix, to reach for the thing that's going to energize us, like the chocolate or the fast, simple carb. So that when we listen to our body with PCOS, we might actually be getting impulse to kind of eat the things that are not going to actually serve us long term. So, eventually, I do think that we can start to listen to our body once we kind of get out of that, like it's almost like a fog, like you're in a fog, so you're just like reaching for the quick fix. The sugar is going to get you alert, right? So, because of that, I do think that when I say ketogenic diet, I don't mean like test your ketones, and I don't mean that. I just mean like removing the things that are removed in the ketogenic diet. So, like grains. Some people are okay with like the lower glycemic index grains that you're releasing blood sugar more quickly, and I mean more slowly in response to. But I really want you to try to track it. And sometimes, in order to get out of that headspace where you're foggy, you might need to cut out all grains for a while, cut out any of the starchy vegetables like potatoes and yams and those things. You might be okay with fruit, you might not. I would say that if you are able for a month to kind of cut out those things that turn to sugar and also cut out gluten and dairy, um, it is beneficial. I hate even saying it, but it really does make a difference, especially just if you are like in the midst of a big PCOS fog and you haven't had a period for a while, and especially if you're trying to get pregnant. So eventually I would like for you to be able to like unravel the dampness so much that you can go back to eating a more balanced diet. I don't think that this diet is forever, but it does make a difference. I almost forgot about exercise. Exercise is also really important for PCOS because the thing with PCOS is that our energy is stagnating because of the dampness. The dampness like slows everything down, and it's almost like that perpetual motion when it starts going backwards. It's like, ugh. So just getting your body moving, even if it's just a brisk walk every day, 30 minutes a day is ideal to do. You can do more rigorous exercise if it feels good to you. Sometimes with PCOS, we're like so fatigued that it's hard to get moving. So just even a walk. Like sometimes you might not be able to motivate to like go to the kickboxing class, but you can go motivate to walk around your block a couple times. So just get your energy moving. And sometimes once you start getting your energy moving, it starts moving and you feel better, which is why like I get the hands-on stuff like the womb massage, and even just the bath, the salts there's some herbs in there and essential oils in there that kind of get your energy moving. All right. This next part, I've had enough patients with PCOS where I've kind of found that this is where I'm going to start talking about the energetic of it, which it can be a little difficult to talk about and really express myself clearly, but I'm going to do my best. You've probably noticed maybe that in every phase that I've talked about boundaries. And the reason that I talk about boundaries so much is because fertility is all about our boundaries. What is us? What is other? What are we willing to take of other into us, make into us? And then what are we willing to give to another? What are we willing to take of us and give? So it's all about boundaries. So when I was talking about the things that lead to PCOS, um, as always, it's important for me to say that these are just energetics that I've noticed. It might resonate with some of you. It might not resonate at all. If it resonates with even one of you, then it's worth talking about. But I've had enough women with PCOS where this has kind of been up that I don't think it's coincidental. So I'll discuss. And as like with any of this stuff, this is just kind of food for thought, for stuff for you to sit with and think about and explore and see if it's something that you want to work deeper with. It's not like with any of this, I'm like, this is going to be the root of everything. Like we're going to get to it today or tomorrow and figure it all out. But it's like, is there a route that we can start to explore? So if you think about um, you and another person, say you're sitting next to each other and energy is really clear and there's nothing in the way, you're like right next to that person, right? So imagine now, though, that you're like in a steam room, right? And you're sitting next to someone, but it's filled with steam. You might not even know the other person's there, right? You're able to kind of block them a little bit more. Like you might know they're there, but you don't really see them. You might not like feel them. So that's kind of what's happening in PCOS. And whether it's purposeful or not, the thing that I feel like with our body is that our body is always in like devotional service to us, like our highest desires. And I know sometimes with infertility, we might feel like our body is failing us, our body is abandoning us, but I 100% believe all the time that our body is in service to our desire. And sometimes our body is able to create a boundary, or say something that we might not be able to say for whatever reason, whether it's like how we might be perceived or how we were raised or a fear of not being liked or women have had enough stuff put on us forever that whatever the reason is, it's not like you're to blame for that. It's just something to explore. So I've had enough patients with PCOS who are highly sensitive, whether they're actually diagnosed as highly sensitive, like a HSP, that's actually a thing, a highly sensitive person, or they just, I've noticed in treating them that they're sensitive, maybe empathic, um, or, maybe even just had really unclear boundaries as a child or in teen years, or where boundaries weren't clear. Either someone else's boundaries weren't clear, so you had to make some boundaries, whatever it is. I've had a lot of different women with different variations of this. So it's not like this happens and then you have this, but I found that this kind of fog can often be like a little bit of a protective layer. And of course, it's unconscious, and of course, it's like not something that we're like consciously aware of, but it's something to think about. And if this doesn't resonate for you and you're even like, upset about it, like that's fine. I'm not saying that every woman who has PCOS has this, is doing this, that their body's doing this. And also, I'm not saying that everybody who has this kind of boundary thing, uh, you know, has PCOS. So I don't want you to get any kind of like blame. I always say this, like, I don't want you to feel like I'm blaming you, but it's true. Like, it's my job to tell you these things, what I've seen and what I've noticed and what I've worked with women. And then it's up to you whether you take it on or not and explore it or not. So, and this is not even just with PCOS. Like, I've had a lot of women who have headaches, who have found that they are not able to say no. So they might say yes to something, and then it's not something they want to do. So they get a headache. It's not like a conscious thing, like, oh, I'm going to give myself a headache. But I believe there's this famous quote, like, your body will keep showing you what you need to work on or showing you what's up until you listen to it. So I think this is often our body's way of serving us, and I think it's important to explore these things. Just explore, you don't need to find the exact answer, but how are you at saying no as a complete sentence? I know I've said that before. Have you been practicing it? I think that it's important to look at these things and see how our body is serving us. Also, look at your boundaries. If you have PCOS, look at were your boundaries protected as a young child and a teen, and they don't have to be like sexual boundaries. They could be sexual boundaries, but even just like, were you around people who were invasive of your space? Or like in acupuncture school, we would call them chi vampires, like people that just keep taking and taking and taking. Um, there's always more to take if you're with someone who's a giver. And as you're exploring this, uh, continue to thank your body for being devotionally in service to you and your highest good. What your body is hearing from you is your desire, and actually see if you're able to get in touch with your actual desire, when you're invited to something. And we also sometimes have the opposite, where we will say no to things um, automatically without even like thinking about, well, like, that's just not something I do. But really sit with yourself and see, like, is something a yes that you might typically say no to, or is something a no that you might typically say yes to? Um, this kind of giving thing is, I've seen it a lot in my PCOS patients, where like they tend to be natural caretakers or providers or givers, and people are like, sure, I'll keep taking. So this almost like foggy energy can be a little bit of a protective space. So just sit with that again. If it doesn't resonate at all, that's fine. But if it does, the reason that I want you to do like a bath or a massage too, in addition to the actual movement, is because it's time and space for you to explore those things. So, like I said, I don't have the answer of like exactly what's happening, but you do, your body does. So if that resonates, sit with it.